Hello everyone, I'm Joel Baird, the General Manager of Missoula Community Access Television, inviting you to learn more about City Council candidates this fall of 2026. We've invited all the candidates for City Council offices to our MCAT studios here in the Missoula Public Library. We're asking the same questions of all the candidates. So to that end, Sandra Vasecka is in the studio with me now, and the incumbent for Ward 6, seeking another term. Sandra, thanks so much for taking the time to come.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
Most welcome. Well, as you heard in the introduction, everyone's being asked the same questions, which I hoped were just springboards so that people could, more naturally and conversationally present information about their campaign. So to that end is your first question. What motivated you to seek this office?
I'm very happy you asked that. Back in 2018, when my husband and I got married, we wanted to buy a house. And then we said, we don't need to buy a house right away, but let's just keep looking. And so we were looking for the perfect home for a starter family. And I was wondering why house prices were so high. Haha, joke's on us because it went even higher.
Right.
But I was looking into that. And then I learned all about property taxes. And I learned about how Missoula is a lot more expensive than a lot of other counties. However, this is my hometown because I graduated from Sentinel. Right. My husband's from Potomac. My mom and husband both went to Hellgate, so I have roots here, and so we wanted to stay in Missoula. And so I was wondering why property taxes were so high. So I kind of went down a rabbit hole of that. And then next thing I know, I'm thinking to myself, well, somebody needs to do something about these outrageous property taxes. And I realized, I guess that person is me. So that is why I ran for council in the first place. And I won, and that was awesome. And I have learned so much these past 4 years, and I just want to keep going. I've built such a great rapport with my colleagues. We disagree on a lot, practically everything, but we can have conversations about it. Yeah. Being on council for 4 years, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of navigating. There's a lot of staff, heads of departments, and I feel like I've built a great relationship with all of the above. And it took a while to build that rapport, and so I think that if I am granted another 4 years, I think that I can continually building that rapport and continue to try to get stuff done. And this time, I see some successes of getting stuff done.
A little light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
Well, the next question is, what are your top 3 priorities if you are granted the ability to serve another 4 years?
Save money, save money, save money.
Those are 3.
Yes, 3 of them. So I went to the budget presentations and budget meetings, and I had a bunch of amendments to trim the fat, as the mayor and a bunch of other folks like to say. And the mayor did say that to cut down to only a 5% increase wouldn't be trimming the fat, it would be cutting off a limb. And I say, maybe we have to do that because people are being priced out of their homes. Nobody can deny that it's on everyone's mind is the high property taxes. Yeah. The folks on fixed incomes, those on disability, those that are retired, they've worked their whole lives, and now they're scared that they're gonna have to move away from their hometown because property taxes are so high. And not one of my amendments even had the possibility of, or even the discussion of passing. And they said, it won't even do much, just $20,000 there, $175,000 there. And I say, no, that's not correct. We do have a spending problem, and we do have to figure out how we can spend less. And yes, it is going to hurt initially, because when I first went into the budget meeting, it was going to be a 9.71% increase for property taxes this year. And then none of my amendments passed, but then one of my colleagues' amendments for a pesticide program, it was only $20,000. That increased taxes when we came out of that meeting from 9.71 to 9.78% increase. And that was the final increase of the budget this year. Yeah. And so if it went up for just that $20,000, 0.8%, then maybe we can reduce our spending and help folks actually stay in their homes, because we do have a huge spending problem here. And I'm screaming it to the top of my lungs, and everyone keeps blaming the legislature, blaming the state. It's the legislature's problem. However, Kalispell just reduced their property taxes about the same rate as we increased ours. So if they're under the same state legislature that we are under, and yet we can't manage to do that, then it's not the legislature's fault. It's our fault. You need to blame us. It is our fault as elected officials. We are not being good stewards of the property tax dollars, and we need to do better. And I believe we can. I think the people are frustrated enough that that it'll show up in the polls this year. Hopefully it will. But if the folks in Missoula think that they like the way that the elected officials are spending their money, then say that at the polls too. I hope that I get elected for another 4 years. I think I can reduce property taxes, or at least really cinch them down so it doesn't increase so much. But if you like the way the Missoula is going, then I guess we'll find out in November.
Right. And do you feel, that sounds difficult to be the minority voice, with 12 folks, and that's 11 that's saying, oh, no. Though sometimes you weren't alone, right? I mean, do you feel like your point of view is sort of at least being understood by people, or saying, oh, there are people concerned about spending?
Yes and no, because everybody on council does acknowledge that property taxes are high. They acknowledge that people are struggling. They acknowledge this and acknowledge that, and yet every single vote increases the spending amount. And I had one of my colleagues who is up for re-election said that when knocking doors, they noticed that everyone is complaining about property taxes. And then later on, they were asked, what would you cut from the budget? They said, nothing. In fact, there's a lot more programs I would like to add. Oh. You have to pick one. Right. So yes, I think that my colleagues understand that people are struggling. I think that they're not fully understanding that we do have to make the hard choices. We can't let everybody get what they want. We have to be the adults in the room, and we have to cut our spending. And like I said earlier, it is going to hurt. It's going to be like chopping off a limb, but we got to do something drastic because everyone's getting priced out of their homes. I'm one of 2 renters on council. Yeah. Luckily, I have a great relationship with my landlord, because if I had to move right now, we'd have to move outside of the city or even the county, because these prices are insane. And we have a new starter family, my husband and I with our 2-year-old. Yeah. I want to own a home, and I have to move outside the county to do that. But I feel like I need to continue doing this, and I have to stay in my ward. So I'm putting my life on hold for the city, guys, and I would really like to accomplish something in these next 4 years, and then hopefully I can leave it in better hands, better than I found it.
Right. Well, what did you learn on the campaign trail? And I know you could modify it. I realize a lot of people here in early September haven't yet, done their full knocking on doors, but since you are the incumbent, I guess you have that line to your constituents.
Yes, and constituents are not shy of reaching out to me, and I love that. Especially constituents in other wards have not been, they feel like they're not being heard by their ward representatives. And then I've gone on the radio a bunch of times, and I have my Facebook and my website, and I say, I don't care if you're not in my ward. If you have an issue and you're not being heard, let me hear it. Let me see if I can do something about it. And people have been doing that. And at least I can be a liaison between them and their representatives, or between them and the proper department. So what I have learned is everyone's talking about the Johnson Street Shelter.
They are.
That is the hot topic in my ward right now, because Johnson Street Shelter is about to open up. When I first got on council 4 years ago, it was supposed to be an emergency shelter for 1 year. Yeah. Temporary emergency shelter. It is now year 4. And the neighbors are kind and welcoming folk, and they have been very understanding, but they are at their wits' end. It's been 4 years of, I know that it's the minority of the homeless folks that are creating the majority of the problems. I know that, I realize that. However, they are ruining it for the neighbors. There are people defecating in their yards. There are needles and bottles and broken glass everywhere. Kids can't play in their front yards, even with their parents' supervision, even if it's fenced, because they get accosted and yelled at by scary people. I wouldn't want my child to be out in the front yard playing like that, because that's scary for them. It's supposed to be a nice, welcoming community here in Missoula. It's supposed to be bright and vibrant and fun, and yet they're right next to the darkest part of people's lives. Yeah. And I do understand that, but it's just this part of the ward has just gotten beaten down. And so I have teamed up with two of my colleagues on council, and yes, I do disagree with them on a lot of things politically, but we all came into agreement that the neighbors of the Johnson Street shelter need an end game. They need something set so that they have a path to an ending of that. So we were hoping to get the Johnson Street shelter sold or something else put in there within 3 years. And so that's going in front of council next week. And we didn't have enough time last week to discuss it. So hopefully we can get something, a plan in place to help ease the neighbors' minds. So that is the
that'd be
hot.
7 years for the neighbors around the Johnson Street.
Yep. So a child that lives right next door, if they were born that first year, they're 7 years old by the time it ends. So they grow up seeing the darkest days of people's lives. And I mean, it is a good learning experience, but is that really the environment you want your child to grow up in? So it's that. The Johnson Street shelter is the main thing that folks are concerned about. And then, like I said before, is property taxes. And then another thing is communication. When folks reach out to city government, they don't feel like they're being heard. They feel like they're being dismissed. And I'm not sure how to fix that. I keep giving people my cell phone number and my email, and my husband told me I need to have working hours because I'll be 11 o'clock at night responding to emails. So I need to have business hours. I understand that with COVID, it made working from home a lot easier, so it's hard to turn the business side off and be present with the family. So I'm working on that. But I will answer every email, every phone call. And if I do miss it, please just ping me again, call me or email me again, because I want to help. And even if I don't have the answer that they don't want, at least I have an answer for them. So it's communication, property taxes, and the houselessness issue. That's the top 3 things that I've learned about.
Well, here's your final and soapbox question if you want. What do you want potential voters to know about you?
So I really like that question. So growing up, my father leans to the right. My father leans to the right. My mom leans to the left.
Oh.
I'm both and all and none of the above. It depends on the issue. I do consider myself a libertarian. I think that the less government interferes in private people's lives, the more that the private sector will prosper. And by the private sector, I don't just mean businesses, I mean individuals as well. The individual families, the individual person, small businesses, big businesses. I think that less regulation, less government involvement leads to prosperity. And it is a dog-eat-dog world out there, but it doesn't have to be. This is Missoula. Everyone's kind. Everyone's kind to your neighbor. I like to call it the 2 degrees of separation because I'm probably related to you.
Right.
And, you know, I want people to know that I have changed my mind on the floor of council before. I've changed my mind during forums. I've changed my mind every time that I get new information. I have an internal discussion with myself like, okay, hold on. Have I really been thinking about this from the with all the information gathered? And I'm very okay with it. I don't think it's a sign of weakness to change your mind. My best friend, she's very liberal and I am not. And I call her up when I'm just not understanding the other side's point of view. And so I say, what am I not seeing here? Because obviously I'm not getting it and I want to understand. And then she explains it to me, and then we have a discussion about it. And then most of the time I say, well, I understand it now. Although I don't agree, I finally understand where you're coming from. And I think that is a huge asset when making policy decisions, because we are the policy-making, deciding body of the local government. And I think that it's okay to think outside the box. It's okay to compromise. And it's okay to come together. And I don't remember who said it, but you know that you came to a good compromise when everybody leaves not happy. So I like to make sure that somebody leaves at least a little bit happy. But, you know, like I said earlier, we have to make the hard decisions. Yeah. It's hard. This is a tough gig. Yeah. And my husband has been really supportive. I have a very good supporting family. And they help me, especially during budget season when I go home just so defeated. Right. You know,
because you are the voice in the wilderness.
The voice in the wilderness. But you know, I refuse to become cynical. I refuse to become a pessimist. I want to remain optimistic, and I will do that. And I will do that for the next 4 years. And we can make Missoula prosperous. We can do that. I think that we can become fiscally responsible while still having some of the programs and services that everybody wants to have. So I guess that's what I want people to know about me. I'm very open to conversations. If anybody wants to chat, I have my website, www.sandravasecka.com. And I have my Facebook, my cell phone is my personal cell, so please observe business hours. But if you work as well, which I understand, then feel free to call me and I'll either answer or call you back the next day. So I'm very reachable. Please reach out with any of your questions or concerns.
Oh, Sandra, thanks so much for taking the time. And thank you, dear viewer, for taking the time to learn more about Missoula City Council candidates this fall of 2023. Again, we've been visiting with Sandra Vasecka. She is seeking another term. She's the incumbent for Ward 6. Now, if you don't know what ward you are in, you could go to the City of Missoula website, and there you'll be led to see, or consult a librarian if you need to. The number here at the library to contact the librarian and say, oh, this is my address, what ward am I in? They'll be delighted to help you, is 721-2665 or 721-BOOK. Once again, thanks for watching. We'll see you later down the campaign trail. For MCAT, I'm Joel Baird. See you next time.